On Tuesday, March 16th, 2021, an armed man shot 8 people working at spas near Atlanta, Georgia. Most of his victims were Asian American women. The shooter had similar plans for spas in Florida. Within 24 hours of the shooting, law enforcement officials and the media shared with us that the perpetrator may not have been motivated by the kind of animus that suggests a hate crime. The perpetrator explained that he had a sex addiction that brought him great shame. To avoid that shame, he felt it necessary to eliminate the temptation that these women's bodies inspired. And the only way to eliminate the temptation that could bring him such shame was to kill them. The suggestion in the way that this was reported is that killing women because their bodies may be tempting is not a hate crime. I would suggest that it is instead one of the oldest kinds of hate crimes around. It's the kind of hate that tells us that the body is the avenue through which evil enters our lives. It's the kind of hate that allows us to value our own bodies little and the bodies of others even less. That creates a hierarchy of bodies by biological sex, by size, by shape, by color, by ability, by age. It's the kind of hate that has us using terms like managing for risk versus managing for safety. It's the kind of hate that allows us to replace electrical pulse with fetal heartbeat. It's the kind of hate that allows us to send young adults into combat zones or to end lives elsewhere with the push of a button. We as a culture don't like bodies, especially female bodies, very much. In her 2018 book, The Body Is Not an Apology, poet, activist, and speaker Sonia Renee Taylor asks readers when they have had to apologize for their bodies, for their very physical beings, for who they factually are in flesh and bone. Taylor's book systematically examines the ways that cultural norms, traumatic incidents, and the cruelty of others can create body shame that is toxic in its ability to limit our joy, our capacity, and our very lives. Her book is excellent and urgent and proceeds in a way that helps readers to identify their own complicity in the norms and assumptions that trap them, much like our beautiful tiger. The focus of the book is current, but the context in which it arose has existed far longer than our current media environment, longer than Vogue or Fashion Week, or even foot binding and corsets. This fight we have with our bodies splits us into pieces that turn on one another in a fight for comfort, for normalcy, for beauty, for rightness, goodness, good souls, good morals, good bodies. The ancient Jews believed that sickness and sin were intertwined. And let's be clear, it's not just the Jewish tradition that made this connection. Human physical frailty has long been seen as personal weakness. The writings of Paul, who laid the foundations for every version of the Christian church, and those that have sprung from her heritage, such as our own UU Church, are laden with fear and loathing for the body, riddled with warnings and limitations, replete with reminders to discipline the body in order to live the good life and be with God. As sin and dogma were defined in the traditions that inform much of our cultural background, the body took the hit. Sense and sensuality were defilement. Physical love and joy were restricted. The very functions that make our survival and continuation as a species possible became degradation, and still our bodies continued to serve, to work, to build, to make, to farm, to learn, to carry, and to hold all that we are. They age and they get sick. They hurt, and they sometimes have mechanical problems, to be sure. But the life in these cells continues in spite of all of that disrespectful and fragmentary tradition. In these last 2 years, these bodies have carried so much. We've been enduring a prolonged global trauma, and now, as we begin to perhaps experience the lightning that comes with finding our way out of the actual trauma, or at least a lesser version of it, we will begin to discover what the trauma has wrought. Doctor and researcher Bessel van der Kolk says it all with the title of his best-selling book, The Body Keeps the Score. The poor, underappreciated, maligned body keeps the score of the trauma, the stress, the fear, sadness, and grief, the inequity, the injustice, and the waste. That same body deals with the mechanical impacts of our time in isolation, decreased activity levels, lower levels of serotonin, higher levels of cortisol. While I do not believe that physical ailments are an outward display of a sinful nature, I do believe that stress has myriad physical impacts. That what is happening with our bodies is sometimes, at least in part, a reflection of what's going on with our spirits. And as we've raised our heads above the challenge of minute-to-minute pandemic living, that reflection may have become more clear. You see, it's rarely in the peak of the strain that our endurance finally fails. But when the threat has diminished enough that the most primitive part of ourselves nod and feel that it's safe enough to ask for healing, to ask for refueling, for refurbishment, to ask for care. I told Reverend Scott, my husband, the other night, that I had this sense that one day soon we would all recognize that we are completely exhausted. Maybe it's already happened for you. We'll have ideas about things we'd like to change and work on because of all that's been revealed over these last 2 years. And our bodies may begin to send up flares and resist the work that we sincerely want to do. Our bodies will cry out, please, more sleep. Please, so much more water. Please don't push so hard. Please seek balance. Please not the old normal. Please befriend me. Please see that I always care for you. Please, oh, please listen. I wonder, as we move forward from this societal earthquake that the pandemic has been, if we can't shift something as old as this ancient fracture between our souls and our bodies. I wonder if we can't question not just our culture's beauty norms, which are well worth questioning, but our culture's far subtler disregard for all of these wondrous bodies. Who are we that we can't recognize the miracle of the cells that converge to hold all that we are, all that we can be, our capacity to work together, to build, to grow, to learn, to be beloved community? How is it possible that we could agree that it's far more important to work hard than it is to take excellent care of ourselves and one another? Perhaps having spent these years attempting to protect our bodies has shifted our perspective. The bodies of those we lost were not defiled. They were not punished for a flaw, for sin, for weakness. Perhaps all of these reminders of the frailty of our own bodies and the interdependent reality that exists in the best of times, and most certainly in the case of contagious disease, has helped us to see the wonder of other people's bodies, of living, of our very biological existence. The bodies, the human bodies we have lost, did the best that they could in the face of something new and unexpected. They performed heroically. Perhaps in this moment, as we begin to see more possibility, we can learn to see all bodies through pandemic-altered eyes. We can see the heroism in our beating hearts. And on the days when we find that new vision difficult, despite all of our best intentions to love this miracle of human life, the days when the physical limitations of our individual situations make it hard to love our own very physical bodies, something I can honestly tell you that I truly understand, we can remember a few things. Every second, your body produces 25 million new cells. In 15 seconds, you will have produced more cells than there are people in the United States. There are anywhere between 60,000 to 100,000 miles of blood vessels in the human body. Laid end to end, they would be long enough to travel around the world more than 3 times. Pound for pound, your bones and my bones, even bones that maybe aren't working so very well, are stronger than steel. A block of bone the size of a matchbox can support up to 18,000 pounds of weight. As you breathe, most of the air is going in and out of one nostril. Every few hours, the workload shifts to the other nostril. I'll pause while you notice which one is working. The human nose can detect about 1 trillion smells. My dogs don't believe that. The heart beats more than 3 billion times in the average human lifespan. Friends, your body, no matter its condition today or in this moment, has done so much. It's carried you through this unprecedented time. It has also likely carried you through other difficult times that were not so widely shared. There may have even been times that you felt that it failed you, that it continues to fail you. I know that feeling. And when I get stuck there, when I'm angry at my joints, like I was this morning, when I'm frustrated with my lungs, when I mourn the children that did not come to term, when I'm weary with any number of my own physical realities, I remember a question I learned from a friend years ago. She asked, what could you do right now that would make your body feel loved? I turned that question over to you now. What could you do today or this week that would make your body feel loved? What could you do today or this week to make other bodies feel loved and valued? What could your pandemic-altered eyes see when they look in the mirror or when they look at a neighbor? Could you see and act on the idea that I first heard from Carl Sagan? You are star stuff. The dust of the universe is inside of you. Your physical reality is the result of a series of events and a combination of circumstances that will never happen again, ever. Never. The likelihood of you is improbable. And yet, here you are, on this planet, on this earth, with me, with us, being you. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for each of you. And usually I'm grateful for this body that has carried me here to be with you in this sacred space with your glorious and miraculous bodies. I'm grateful for the chance to continue to learn to love our own bodies and to love the miracle that is all of our bodies, to love the diversity of them, to appreciate the work that they do and the years that they live. I pray that in practicing that appreciation, we will see the stardust in everyone and make a safer world for all. And rather than just leave you with this thought, I'd ask you to join me now in a blessing for our bodies, written by my colleague, the Reverend Lisa Bovee Kemper. Play along to the degree that you are comfortable. Touch your hands to your forehead if that feels all right. May you be blessed with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. May your intellect take you far on your journey. You have been blessed with reason and free will. It is your call every day to use these gifts. To your throat. May you be blessed with voice. May you learn the complex nature of truth-telling. The ability to speak the truth in love is something that requires honesty, empathy, and care. You're challenged every day to seek the joy that comes with sharing your truth compassionately, as well as listening to others. Your heart. May your heart be full and blessed with love. May you know the agony of heartbreak as it is intertwined with the elation of true love. Your heart is a strong and resilient organ, one that will be with you until the end of your time on earth. May the wisdom of your heart, may you heed it and always trust that it tells the truth. Your abdomen. You are blessed with the gift of sexuality. May you always remember that you are a beloved child of God. Your body is sacred and belongs to you alone. May you live into the full expression of your identity as a human being, embracing your true sexual and gender identity. The gift of sexuality brings with it many rewards, as well as great responsibility. May you retain power over your own being, striving toward mutually fulfilling, just relationship. Hold your hands. When you were a baby, your tiny hands, which are some of the best things about babies, were your first contact with the world. Before you could see more than a few feet in front of your face, you grasped the finger of your loved ones. You catch yourself with your hands when you fall, and you express love and comfort to others with them too. May your hands be gentle and strong. May you use them to carry light into the darkness and rest to the weary. May your hands always find the place of greatest need, beginning with your own. And may the creator of all things hold you in the palm of her hand wherever you go. Wrap your arms around yourself. May you be blessed on your journey. May you remember that growth happens on the journey and that you are never alone. May you always remember that you are a whole person, that each of these parts work together. We offer our blessings upon you, body, mind, and spirit. May you be guided by compassion and truth, justice and love. May you find rest on the journey, always remembering where you came from, being mindful that your ancestors stand behind you, whether we are present on earth or have gone back to the soul of the world. May you be blessed in all things and carry blessings with you wherever you go. Amen. May it be so. Please rise in body or spirit to join me in singing hymn number